I think that's my warning. I will switch with you, with your boy. Okay, just dropping it. Yeah. Quincy, got me all the way up? Yes, I'll put you out.
So we're on day 5, foal gentling. We're going to have a demo on assessing the hoofs for picking up baby steps, TLC, and syringe and med prep. Hi, Raven.
Can you guys all see from back there? You're welcome to come forward because he won't be too worried by it either. So if you can't see, be forward like this. And it will help you understand what we're doing next. So Quincy. Quincy, he's dozing. And he's prepped. So what we're looking for when we stroke with this pole today are two things. And what came up yesterday, mainly for Nicole actually, that's why he's also in here, would be the expectation of the pole. What are we looking for? And we're testing to see how they respond before your head goes down there.
Anna's got her helmet on.
Before your head goes down there. So if he hasn't had a pole on before, there we go, we would come in here at the withers, and Quincy has had a pole on his back. He had this really delightful fur up here, and I'm not sure if everybody had noticed that from our class, but it looked a little bit fuzzy, and you can see the difference up here to down there, and it's probably his foal fur. And it wasn't coming out, it's more the foal fur. And so we'd utilize the rubber end of the pole to see if it would come out earlier on and to groom him with it. So I remember that piece that we did with him. So he's a little bit comfortable and he's already familiar with it. If he was not, we would still introduce it at the front there, if you weren't dozing, at the front. And then we would begin to massage up here. So if your foal, and you're doing this, if your foal hasn't had it, introduce the rubber end to the withers, and we're looking at mutual grooming. We're looking at a bit of grooming. So then instinctually, you're going to have to figure out if you go back here and down, or indeed if you went to the front. So when we come back down, we're looking at how they respond. He's fine, he doesn't even quiver. And this was Nicole's question, because she thought, and the demos she's seen, were where they'd given to pressure. So you come down here and they had given to pressure. And that's the great question. What do you do when he doesn't? So the piece we're testing would be how he feels about it. So in his case, we're desensitizing ultimately. And if we're desensitizing, we're figuring out how he feels about it, and he feels totally fine. I'm not going to assume that he's like that on both sides, so I would come to the other side. We do a nice big curvature around there so that we're not in his space and moving his head. And then we come in on the other side here, same thing. We do a little bit of grooming on the top here, or find somewhere that they like. Oh, good morning, Quincy. And if it feels right, we come back down here, and same thing, you could come here. Now you could be as creative as you want to be. So that might mean when you move on with him today, tomorrow, you're not necessarily going to go and say, hi, may I pick the hoof up from up here? You're likely to say hi, and then you take hold of his foot. So in order to do that, you're going to prep with the pole, where instead of coming up here, you might just come down here so he doesn't get startled, so that you're prepping him for you to ultimately bend down and pick up this hoof. Same down here. Instead of coming from the top down, which is warning and asking a horse, you might come down here. So we now know that he's pretty safe. Hate to do the don't do what I do, but, and we, yeah, exactly, we're going to be clipped on for this. Thank you. So there he did give a little bit. That woke him up, me over the pole. And and he gives a bit. That's so funny, he doesn't care about the pole, he cares about the human hand more. If he's too much in the corner, it's an opportunity to do our baby steps. Good job. And some things that will remind you guys on our baby steps. We're wanting to touch them on the forehead. So you're going to offer the back of the hand moving to the front if you can. Back of the hand moving to the front of the hand. And we're choosing this area, that's the third eye. And we're choosing a blind spot. With him, he's got a little quirk bump. When you look at the side there, quite quirky. So his eyes are a little set back, and that can make them a tad spookier on times. A little bit more because the anatomy is further back. So we're going into a blind spot, and we're going into a trust building spot. So that's an important piece now, which we started with reaching out, but now we go up here. So we may come in, he's a little bit more off the wall, starting up there. Good job. There we go. Oh, nice, good. And that's all you look for is the weight distribution. So he didn't give us the weight distribution with the pole, but he does with the hand. And that's fine, because the pole makes sure he's solid, and the hand he begins to give. So the other thing we're looking at would be the baby steps. We acknowledge the eye, so when he looks at us, the eye. We acknowledge the neck bend and yield, and everybody's done this with the horseman's rope around their neck. We're looking at the angle, preferably 45 degrees forward. That's here, there's 90, 45, and once his neck and his eye and his head's here, we're looking for that foot to move forward. And release. Back of the hand to the front of the hand. So meanwhile you're building trust as well as getting the zigzag line. So zigzag would mean we went this way, then we're going to go that way. So we step here, we're forward a bit, and ask. Good job. We're stepping back, both hands on the line, asking for the forward, and the fingers you can see are asking for that forward motion. We're inviting him into our heart space, heart to heart. Eyes are down, hand on the forehead. So now we're getting more into natural movement instead of always this. We could do that the first time, and then we start doing this natural movement. We're going to zigzag forward, first the eye, then the neck, then the weight distribution, and we're looking for the forward motion, and sometimes they're rubberneck. And in an ideal world, on our baby steps, we're looking for them to do a full circle. Once we're committed, realize that, so you're a little bit committed here. There's his back when he feels the pressure. There's a weight distribution. There he's stretching. I could look at the hind legs if he yields to the eyes. They really don't want them simply backing out. He's feeling the pressure on the nose. It's going to rubberneck. But if you come zigzagging, you're bringing them a tad off balance. So wherever the balance is, you're taking them off balance and they're drawing you to you. So that's why you're zigzagging. So obviously finding the other way a bit easier. There's a step. There's a yield. There he's trying. We can intersperse it all. So we've done a bit of the pole work. Oh, good job, buddy. Good job, Quincy. We could do a little bit of the baby steps. There he's feeling the halter. And ultimately, in an ideal world, you want that circle. It takes a little bit of time. You reward the tries because you got the eye, then the neck, then the weight, and then the foot. And if he can string a few steps together, good job, that's ideal. Now at the same time, you've been asking me about the TLC. We've done it at Liberty. So here's an opportunity. We might touch that ear, massage the ear. You could then decide to step in and massage the ear too. So you can mix and match. We've got 3 steps there, 4, 5, 6, a few together. This is his harder side. That's where he leans. You could look at the hind foot, eyes and hind foot. And he struggles on this right. That's why the jaw's coming out too and opening up. He struggles a tad. Far, far easier on that other side for him. So he's really leaning into pressure. Nice try, bud. Nice try. Good job. We could cover the eye. Cover the other eye. So you're building in your TLC without specifically doing that. Angle can be a tad sharp. So you see that. There we go. So now we've covered the eyes. Check this mouth. Not so much, huh? It's better if we can stand in the side. That thumb here lifts up. Well, now, isn't that something? Isn't that something? I wondered that. Come over here. Good job. All right, Miss Nicole.
Underbite?
They're not lined up. Is that going to be a problem? Yeah, there. You see, Katie?
Yeah, I do see that.
Good job. Well, the good news is little Munchkin looks healthy, doesn't he? So he's eating all right. You asked if it's a problem, he's reassuring you it's not.
Quincy's a doctor and trainer for the
He's
week.
walking around
Junior
like that,
student.
bless him. You
Nicole.
can't really see it there, but that's where the TLC comes in too. Job. You guys can see, if you let me, it's not that big a deal. I don't care that you've got a bite like that. There you see it, like that. Okay, so we open the mouth. You can see your little teeth. Like that. If you'll let you see, will you let them see on? No, not on the other side. Don't want to show that off, okay? All right. So then we massage the face. So you'll do that. You'll do that. You want to see? Could I put my hand under here? I know he doesn't like the other side so much. It's a bit better on this side. Can you stand there? I'd like his nose over if you can. Perfect. I like to be able to put my hand on the nose. We're not holding him too tight, and then looking, just like that. Like that. Asking him to stay, just like that, and looking in. Perfect. Then I'm going to put my fingers in there and massage that tongue of his. And massage can mean, do they just go in there, like that? His tongue is beautifully pink. He is moist in there. We're looking at that. We look at the capillary refill while you're there. You might as well press on those gums and see if they're pink. Are there any ulcers in there? Does the tongue look great? Puts his tongue like that. There we go. It's really cute. I bet that was really delightful.
It's a great angle over here.
That was delightful for all our viewers. Great, Quincy. Good job. So fingers in there. There we go. That's beautiful. So he's standing nicely and his experiences. But he does. It's the cutest thing. I don't think I've ever seen any horse put their tongue to the back. I should not do that again. To the back of the teeth like he is. There we go. Back. Good man. So there we get the TLC where it's that ear. We've seen the eye. We've seen a little bit over here. The TLC would include those neck yields. Fantastic job. And left and right. So we get that in place too. Okay. So without focusing in on one job too long, we start to get our baby steps as he leans, because he doesn't like that move that way so much. There we go. Multiple steps strung together. We're starting to get him comfortable for the syringe. Here's our multiple steps. You're going to go toilet? So the line is nice and soft. If he takes the line, we'll be looking at it, but if you're at this angle, you can keep the nose with you, see, versus if you're at another angle, i.e. back here, he'll be able to spin and you can't do anything about it. So if he spins now, there's nothing you can do. So you want to make sure you're not at that angle. Now ask him to back through the pressure, see if he can do it. So his hand on the chest and the halter for this one. Could step in front of him, because he knows that. And we've got the backing in place. With the syringe over there. Or is it Melody?
Melody's got it.
Thank you. So we've seen the pole to prep us and prep him. Don't like that. You've seen the prep with the hand. It's going to go over there. Nice touch. If they've had the pole work, so that's at least 5 of them. Not the poles with the stroking of the legs, not that. That means Citrus has had it, Lady's had it, where we've asked them to touch something. There was your instant stop closing of the finger so he doesn't run past. If they've, yeah, he's not had that where we've taught him to touch. So he's not wanting to do this. If they've learnt to touch it, it's a great piece to have in place. You're okay. You're okay. Oh, nice head butt thing. Try whatever it was. But, okay, so let's try that. So we need the back of the hand because he did well on the back of the hand. Good job. And stand there. So he's learning to stand and the back of the hand. You're fine. And that's the first bit where he's got a bit worried. Nice backing, we utilize that. You're okay, buddy. You're okay, Quincy. You're okay. Good job. There's the back of the hand. And a release. So he was fine with that. Now the syringe is with me, front of the hand. Back of the hand. Good boy. Tuned out. Back. Front. Well done. Oh. See? Little head drop. Oh, he doesn't like the line, that's why he's twisting his head. But if you find an opportunity to kind of bring in that neck yield or head drop, maybe you do it this way. No, that's a head up. Didn't work for me, did it? So we'll try, see if he'll give a tad. Your hand, and often it will help with that little head drop, even if we get him to soften. Good job. So from this angle, you've seen us come in, right, like that, and he was fine with it before. There and there. I'm fine with it like that. There you can see how he does that tongue. Well done, buddy. So we've got to figure out if we do it this way. Not so sure. Not bad. See, it wasn't that bad. Sugar water. And that's exactly what it is. It's sugar water. So no, he won't learn to just run over you by coming out. He was allowed to move once he had a little bit. He's likely to back up into it, back up over there. Oh, but he didn't, so that's great. Good job. Like to be able to change the angle of it too. So this angle, we were fine with. There we go. I'd like, stop there. be okay with this angle. There we go. And then he doesn't like it in his mouth first. He was better with the hand. So when they move, they learn in multiple locations. So sometimes they're going to move and it's going to be like it's a new time. So you've got to be aware of that. There we go. Good job, buddy. All I'm looking for is fluid to go in. It's not perfect, and that's okay, because we don't want to put the clay that we're aiming for till we've got this down a little bit more.
So I'm kind of confused, Anna, because when I did it yesterday, he didn't do any of
Yeah,
this.
it's like trailer loading. You'll get a horse in any trailer the first time. So they're curious.
So
Yes,
now he knows what to expect, and
Yeah.
so now he's like, no.
Yeah.
Okay.
So curiosity is a beautiful key with horses. Hence everything works well usually. And then the training begins. So that's why wherever we start off, good job, the next day tells us how they felt,
Okay.
right? So the halter, if it goes well, if we ended well or the lesson was well, it tells us how they really felt. So some of them will say, okay, I'm going to greet you with the back side because I know it means that I can't just eat and play in this area anymore. So the same here, he might turn around and say, I don't like this in my mouth. Could be that he doesn't like his nose touch, right? So there's all these things you're working on. The fact, oh, great head drop. We're working on the head drop, we're working on the fact the hands on the nose, we're working on the fact we're looking in the mouth, which he's going to need for dentistry and so on. And you could easily go bitless, you know, as he grows up. You can go with halter and stuff like that, so it's not an issue. But you know, when he's sensitive on his nose like that, really this is just resting, it's not gripping. Oh, good head drop. And so even if the syringe becomes a secondary issue, well done. It's never the focus, you know. You say the horse is the focus because it's not about the syringe. Oh, I noticed that it's like a little nodule on that side. Often they get it with allergies.
Okay, yeah, we noticed, Katie and I noticed that.
Yeah, I've got one of mine at home. I don't know if this is the same thing. It is soft in there. I don't know if it's a tad low for the allergy.
It appeared on day 2
Yeah,
or
it's
3.
interesting, isn't it?
We were wondering if he got stung or
Yeah, I
something
wonder too.
like
It's
that.
like normally it's on both sides and it's just one. Moves like a marble, left and right. But I'll massage that. There you go. Oh, that was nice. Nice job. Nice job. So meanwhile, we're working on him lowering his head down.
Okay.
And so that whole piece of TLC you were asking me about, what's it look like? We've got baby steps, we've got nose, and it's always about the opportunity. You guys were asking that too, of how do we do this? We have a goal in mind, but if he offers an opportunity for a head drop, we'd take it versus making a lesson to say, you saw when I said, could you drop your head, didn't really work. But if he's offering it, make that your idea. So if you're too goal-oriented, you won't necessarily see it. But if you see that he's putting his head up with the syringe, we need to change it. If he puts his head down, we'll work with that. If he's worried about the hand, we'll work with the hand today. And so on and so forth. I'm just going to give that back to you. And I'll show you 2 more pieces, right? Okay, so the yield that we're looking for. If he's not had the pole work, this is where Amy and them should be really thrilled. Because they've learned to yield. These guys haven't. So if they've not had the pole work, they might not know. But we could ask for the yield, and we'll find out what he truly thinks about me pressing his butt. So he's into pressure. That's what they are innately. So we're looking for them to go against the nature. So you could pick a piece of the body, you know, you could choose the flank, choose an area you want them to give. It's a bit tricky just there. You want them to give and then ultimately to yield. So he can catch his eye, job with the yield, and he leans into pressure, and then we get the step away. It can be minor, you don't need to repeat it 10 times, but we do want them to be yielding on different parts of the body. So that's the other thing you'll integrate. Take the rope.
Are you just touching, or are you actually pushing a little?
Touching and pushing.
Okay.
So I got my yield here, pushed a little bit, there's nowhere for him to go, and then we'll touch first, put the intention in that area, visualize it. So we start with the visualize, and we put the energy into it. The body language is helping him, and then the touch. So we've got the 4 things going there. Thank you. So before we clip on, you'll have the smooth left and right circles before you clip on. What is that? And this is way heavier than your horseman's rope. And you've got to work with this little guy. So you could decide, this is the move I need. So there's another long line. You could do that. So now you work on that approach with it, whereas they're looking. Some of them won't like this motion. You could stand this way, and you're rubbing it. Well done, well done. So you make it as small as you need to do for your foal. You're going to rub it up and down. If all you do is stay so smooth, you won't desensitize. So the idea would be that you're moving it, and this is your sweet spot, just there. So you always retreat from that area because you've got to create that sweet spot. You always have the chance for the baby steps in between. Well done. Good job, buddy. You're working on the approach into the withers, expanding what you're doing, watching your whole horse. And you can make it as long as you wish, long here as you wish. And ultimately, your creativity plays a big part, because you want to be able to stretch out, you want to be able to touch them down their legs, wrap it round their legs. To the other side. Good job, under the belly, well done. Without startling, so my idea here is that he doesn't have to defend himself. Good job. And he doesn't have to run. Well done. So you've got a blind area here, blind area here, blind area back there, blind area in front of his nose. At first you may include areas where he can see, but then you're including areas he can't see. And you want the touch, so you're desensitizing to motion, to touch, and blind areas, acknowledging the tries. Oh, you like that? From the soft eye, the soft mouth, the licking and chewing, the head drop, the 4 feet on the ground, the steady breathing, the sigh, whatever it might be. If all you do is stay gentle, oh, good job, then you won't desensitize, so be mindful. There's the blind area, there's the other side, wrapping around that leg, underneath, good job, underneath the belly, above, oops, under, above, wow, nice crack. And you'll build up to some of that desensitizing that we'd feel comfortable with this line on. You'll do way more than I am, this is an introduction. So you're working on the left side and the right side for them. Once you know they're good, integrate the sound. Certainly not saying he's good yet. And you'll fill in some of those gaps. Only then could we clip on once we know that they're fairly comfortable, because you're committed at that point. We would still see he's feeling the weight and he's looking at the line. Here's a nice angle, asking him to come. So it's like a flute, you're going to go up that line and ask for him to come. This is his harder side. It's going to be a short lesson, I'm not going to fill it all. So you're visualizing that foot coming, and the hand, there we go, is guiding him. Good job, bud. And you're forward because you're inviting the nose to come all the time. You're inviting the nose to come. If they go left or right, you've got to stop them if it's inappropriate. Well done. This is his hard side, right? So we've got the neck yield. And the coming. There's the turn you've got to prevent. An opportunity, if you do it right, for a tad of a yield. Good job. And so he can't turn that way because he's just taken the space. We know his forward's pretty good here. Well done. Good job. Maybe we do a better yield. There. Can you do that? There you go. So we get an opportunity for a yield and better turns. So pretty neat. And before you know it, he's got the left to right, you know, and the forward and the stop and a little bit of a yield, and it will come on the next lesson and you can fill in those gaps. And you can fill in the desensitizing and stuff like that. And he'll probably be in a position now, I hope, where one could, and you could have the horseman's rope draping, but where more or less we're looking at taking that halter off more normally, on and off more normally. Good job. Right, so that's everybody's doing that pretty much. And some can do it at liberty and some are doing it with the halter on, and he kind of graduates to a point where we can get the halter on and ask him to move around, which is really neat.